Hi, it's Craig Balster with Keller Williams and the Balster Realty Group. We're here with an ongoing series of how to sell your current house and buy a new one, all in the same process. Today we're heavy on the buy side. Today we're going to talk about you've been looking for homes, you've found the one. You love where it's at, you love the floor plan, heck, you even like the paint. So you can't. You're just so excited. This is going to be great. So you have to write your offer. So guess what? When you like the house, chances are in this market, somebody else is going to like the house too. Multiple offers is very, very common these days. So you have to be prepared for that right up front. You're going to probably need to compete and beat somebody in order to get the house that you're looking for. So first off, if this is the first time you're offering, you need to sit down with your agent and go through the entire offer. There's lots of terms in there. There's lots of timelines in there, contractual obligations, these kinds of things. Ours in Columbus is 14 pages long, so you need to understand what's in there before you go worrying about purchase price and those kinds of things. There's lots of terms in there you need to understand. So once you decided to write an offer, and your agent's going to sit down with you, but the agent needs to be discussing with the listing agent what is particular about this situation. What's the seller looking for in terms of closing date and possession? How long do they need to stay in the house after closing? Where's the seller going? How many offers are there? Does it have an offer deadline? All these terms, you're trying to suss out any information you can to make your offer as attractive to the seller as possible. In this case, when you're competing. So obviously they're all a little different. Every seller's different. Every seller's situation is different. Each buyer's offer is a little different. But let's just pretend for a second. Let's assume for a second that this particular seller has a place to go right away and doesn't need possession after closing. So buyer's just going to buy it and then take possession right at closing. Pretty straightforward. So generally, there's three things that sellers are looking for in terms of an offer. Highest net. Notice I didn't say highest price, highest net. Sometimes you start with the purchase price, obviously that has a lot to do with how high the net is, but there's lots of terms in the middle that will net the seller more or less throughout the process. So the first thing is highest net the seller's looking for. The second thing is the ease and speed of the transaction. Sellers generally want to have a speedy process and during that process do as little as possible with the house or for the house. As few repairs as possible, that kind of thing. And then last, and I don't think it gets talked about nearly enough, sellers want certainty. They want to be certain that the buyer is going to close and that they're going to receive their proceeds. This is where cash is king. Sellers love cash because it's certain. Oftentimes with an offer with cash will come the proof of funds, and so seller knows this particular buyer is fully capable of buying the house at whatever purchase price that they offered. Financing offers can compete with cash offers. Don't think it's just because you're not cash that you can't compete. You can, as long as you have a good pre-approval letter that demonstrates that your income and assets have been verified. If the lender has run your package through underwriting already, that's a big plus. The idea being you just want to make the seller feel as certain as possible that you can close. Any proof of funds as far as down payment and any appraisal gap coverage along with your offer, that would be a great help as well. Appraisal gap coverage, that's a kind of a geeky real estate term there. Often, and I'll explain it real brief. So as part of any financing deal, an appraisal will be ordered. If the appraisal comes in at or above the purchase price, according to the standard contract, all is great, and you move on. If the appraisal states the value of the home to be less than the purchase price, generally with a standard contract, you have to go back and say, to the sellers and work out how to make up that gap. Is the seller going to come down in price and the buyer come up in cash, or how those things are going to happen? If you're in a competing situation, you say, seller, I'm going to cover 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 of any appraisal gap. Again, that goes to helping the seller feel certain that you're going to get that they're going to get the full amount of proceeds. One note real quick, oftentimes you'll hear, or maybe somebody's a relative once did a buyer love letter. Buyer love letters are letters, or sometimes even videos that accompany an offer from the buyer to the seller that just tell the seller why the buyer loves the house so much. They're designed or hopeful that you can play on the seller's emotions a little bit in order to select your offer versus the next one. These are not generally great for the seller anymore because they can open up the seller to fair housing issues. For example, sometimes the buyer will say, they're looking forward to celebrating Christmas around the fireplace and the Christmas tree, and they're very excited about that. So what they've inadvertently done is disclose to the seller their familial status and their religious status, a little bit. Those are protected classes, and can, if the seller chooses that offer over another one, that can lead the seller into a fair housing issue. So these have been around for years, but in recent years they've really come out of favor, and in fact the National Association of Realtors really discourages the use of them. Oregon even tried to ban them completely. All right, so your agents will work with the listing agent to get as much information about the seller's situation and how many offers they have and what all is happening surrounding that offer or that particular listing in order to put you in the best position to put your best foot forward. But in general, if you address the three main criteria that sellers are looking for, the highest net, obviously, big part of it, the ease of the transaction, the speed of transaction, and also the certainty that the seller is going to get that. If you address all three of those, you are much more likely to get your offer accepted and ultimately get the house that you really, really want. So if you have any questions at all, as always, give us a buzz at Ulster Realty Group. We'd be happy to chat with you.